Since it's been about a month since we lost Rob Reiner, who apparently really became a big name by being one of the co stars of TV's big hit All in the Family, after he had left the show, about in 1978, or 77. But however, he came back in 1984 with his first big film that was really a rockin' sensation and a star for what we would call a mockumentary. Here's my review of This is Spinal Tap. Back days, entertainment rankings and reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. I'm the Big D, and this time around I bring to you a review of the 1984 mockumentary comedy flick, This is Spinal Tap, released by Embassy Pictures, directed by Rob Reiner in his feature directorial debut, which he co-stars with Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer, who play the titular characters, the members of a fictional metal band known as Spinal Tap. Reiner plays a documentary filmmaker following the band's American tour. The film was released on March 2nd, 1984, and while it was a modest success, it it soon became a cult classic and was credited as launching the mockumentary genre, and notable for the origin of the phrase "up to 11." I must say, this is a really funny film. I know I never took the time to watch it. Now, I'd seen bits and pieces of the film, but just now I finished watching the film in its entirety, along with its sequel, which will be getting a review tomorrow. So let's get into the story. Filmmaker Martin DeBurgess is filming a documentary about English rock band Spinal Tap's 1982 United States concert tour to promote their new album, Smell the Glove. The band comprises of childhood friends David St. Hubbins and Nigel Tufnell on vocals and guitar, along with bassist Derek Smalls, keyboardist Viv Savage, and drummer Mick Shrimpton. The documentary shows the band's early days as the skiffle group, The Originals. They renamed themselves the New Originals when it was discovered another band was already called The Originals, only to change it back when the Originals changed their name to the Regulars. They later had a hit as the Tamesmen, Give Me Some Money, before changing their name to Spinal Tap and achieving a significant hit with the Flower Power anthem, Listen to the Flower People. They subsequently began performing heavy metal music. Several of the band's previous drummers died under strange circumstances. John Stumpy Pepys died in a bizarre gardening accident that police said was better left unsolved. Eric Stumpy Joe Childs died choking on someone else's vomit. Peter James Bond exploded on stage, and Nigel shows Marty his extensive guitar collection, including one that is so valuable it cannot be looked at or even pointed at, much less played, as well as a custom made amplifier that has volume knobs that go up to 11. Nigel claiming that this makes the amplifier one louder than most other amplifiers on which the volume setting only goes up to 10. Tensions rise between the band and their manager Ian Faith, as several shows are canceled for low ticket sales, and major retailers refuse to sell their album Smell the Glove because of its sexist cover art. David's girlfriend Janine, a yoga and astrology devotee, joins the group on tour and participates in band meetings. Nigel and Ian dislike Janine's ideas for Spinal Tap's costumes and stage presentation. Without consulting the band, their record label releases Smell the Glove with an entirely black album cover. Kind of makes you feel like a bit, well, Now, about a certain real band's album called The Black Album years later. Despite Ian's assertion that it could have a similar appear to the Beatles' White Album, Smell the Glove fails to sell. Nigel suggests staging a lavish druid themed glam rock show and asks Ian to order a Stonehenge trilothon. However, Nigel mislabels its dimensions and the resulting prop is only 18 inches high rather than 18 feet, making the group a laughingstock. The group blames Ian, and when David suggests Gene should co-manage the group, Ian quits. The tour continues, rescheduled for much smaller venues, and Gene and David increasingly marginalize Nigel. Now for the final act and their final day on tour, the ending. I'm gonna go on and get to the last bit of this film story. So you got 5 seconds to stop this video at once. Go to the description box below and fast forward to the time below. As I start counting down now, if you've seen this movie already, please continue. Okay, you've been warned. At a gig at a U.S. Air Force base, Nigel is upset by an equipment malfunction and quits mid performance. At their next gig in an amphitheater at an amusement park where the band is billed below a puppet show, the band finds their repertoire is severely limited while Nigel, at Derek's suggestion, the band improvises an experimental jazz odyssey, which is poorly received. On the last day of the tour, David and Derek consider ending Spinal Tap and exploring other projects, such as a musical about Jack the Ripper called Saucy Jack. Before they go on stage, Nigel arrives and tells them that Spinal Tap's song Sex Farm has become a major hit in Japan and that Ian wants to arrange a tour there. David barely refuses, but later, as Nigel watches the band performing from the wings, David relents and invites Nigel to join the band on stage. The line in the crowd but infuriating Janine during the performance, Mick explodes on stage. Ian is rehired as the group's manager, and Spinal Tap, now with Joe Mama Besser as their drummer, performs a series of sold out shows in Japan. End of story. So, what did I think of This Is Spinal Tap? I must say, this film is absolutely hysterical. Now, as I've said already, I've seen bits and pieces of this film, but this is the first time I've ever watched the film in its entirety. I've got to say, this film is absolutely crazy, and it was the film that introduced us to the mockumentary genre in a way. But anyway, there had been lots of fun-filled mockumentaries that followed, most notably ones done by one of its stars, Christopher Guest, which I'll get to later. Now, and of course, this got a ton of like and what have you when it was released. It actually went on to become a cult classic. At the time of its release, Roger Ebert gave the film 4 out of 4 and wrote that the film is one of the funniest, most intelligent, most original films of the year. The satire has a deft, wicked touch, and Spinal Tap is not that much worse than, not that much different from, some successful rock bands. And he later placed the film on his 10 best list of 1984 and would later include it in his great movies list in 2001, where he called it one of the funniest movies ever made. Gene Siskel also gave it 4 out of 4, saying it is so well done, in fact, that unless you are clued in beforehand, it might take you a while to realize that the rock group under dissection is, well, in the film, does not really exist. Yeah, critics praised the film not only for its satire of the roller coaster lifestyles of rock stars, but also for its take on the non-fiction film genre. Yeah, really crazy. Retros- in retrospective, the film has been regarded as one of the Best Films in 1984. The film has a 98% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, where they say smartly directed, brilliantly acted, and packed with endlessly quotable moments. The film is an all-time comedy classic. Metacritic has a score of 92. It's been featured on numerous lists from the AFI, and it got tons of reactions from many rock stars, including Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, Jerry Cantrell, Dee Snider, Ozzy Osbourne, rest in peace, and just about a lot of others and what have you. Oh yeah, this was just so much fun. I got to say that this was just so incredible. It later went on to become an even bigger cult classic when it was released on physical media. It later got released by the Criterion Collection and then MGM. Now, of course, Bleecker Street, who had recently released the new sequel to this film last year, actually acquired domestic distribution rights for the first film from Castle Rock Entertainment, which of course was a company, the studio, a studio founded by Rob Reiner himself. And the band the stars would actually go on to do other things and what have you. And I just gotta say, it was pretty awesome. Now, Rob Reiner did an exceptionally good job in directing this, as of course he co-wrote the story with Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer, who they also wrote the music together as well. Very good and what have you. Of course, a soundtrack for the film was released on Polydor Records. Anyway, apparently the album I think might have done fair, but I can't be entirely sure. But I will say that I'm sure it had some pretty good stuff. It had all sorts of songs and what have you. In 2000, it got re-released with a bonus holiday song called Christmas with the Devil, plus a special mix of it. So anyway, yeah, so you got to admit the soundtrack is really good of a lot of the great songs you'll hear in this film. For the cast, we have Michael McKean as David St. Hubbins. Of course, McKean was already well known for appearing on numerous sitcoms, most notably Laverne and Shirley. Christopher Guest, who later became a king at bringing us mockumentary films, some of which McKean took part of, actually, because Guest went on to direct mockumentaries like Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, For Your Consideration, and A Mighty Wind, which that's one of the films I've seen more times than the others. I need to try and review those sometime down the road. His performance as Nigel Tufnell, pretty good and what have you. Derek Smalls is played by Harry Shearer, who would later go on to voice Mr. Burns, Smithers, and several other characters on The Simpsons. Rob Reiner does a great job in playing Mari DeBurgi. I've got to say, he's really good. For the rest of the cast, we have Tony Hendra as Ian Faith, R.J. Parnell as Mick Shrimpton, David Kaff as Viv Savage, June Chadwick as Janine, Bruno Kirby as Tommy Pichetta, the limo driver, Ed Begley Jr. as John Stumpy Pepe's, Fran Drescher, long before she played the nanny, as Bobby Fleckman. Oh, the list goes on and what have you. Dana Carvey's in this, Sandy Helberg, Billy Crystal, Howard Hessman. Heck, even Angelica Houston and Fred Willard as well. So you've got to admit the cast is pretty good too. So, with everything said, this is a real fun rock movie, and I'd say it's pretty darn awesome. So, with everything said, would I recommend this as Spinal Tap? The answer would be hell yeah, go for it. This film is absolutely crazy but awesome with good music, great characters, and great direction from the late great Rob Reiner. Absolutely. So what did you think of this as Spinal Tap? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, consider clicking the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Continue to help support my channel, and you know the rest. Also, click the bell for notifications, and join me next time when I bring to you a review of Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. So if you like this, check out my reviews for these other rockin' movies. In the upper left-hand corner is my review of the cult classic itself from 1975 of a musical, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Or go to the upper right hand corner and see my review of one of my favorite Jack Black films, and that would be The School of Rock. Or if you would like, check out what Rob Reiner did long before he directed this film in my recent TV log of All in the Family. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guy. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying see ya.